Welcome back, everyone, to Anonymous Addiction Deprogramming Everything podcast. Today, we're going to be breaking down deprogramming, the myth of Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, CAMA, the whole 12-step paradigm, and all the spin-offs, the 20 other spin-offs. Let's get right into it. Step 6. Deprogramming, step 6. As we deprogram, we can reprogram too. Hey, if you're coming out of a detox, going into a rehab, check out these podcasts. It gives you information. It'll give you, another side. It'll give you, you'll be able to take another look at it because you're going to be being programmed into, when you go all to the group sessions, you're going to be programmed with the 12-step modality constantly. You're going to have to go to meetings, 12-step meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous, NACA, whatever. So check it out. This way it'll give you a little more information that you can rationally, logically, critical thinking, use your critical thinking and decide on your own, because after all, everything is your decision. You're powerful. You're making the decision. The only require for membership is a desire. It comes from you. You make the decision to go to a meeting. I know you probably were forced into the rehab, but that's another whole podcast. So step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Now I'm gonna name this, we're entirely ready to be fooled by Alcoholics Anonymous and by the almighty magical guy in the sky. The guy in the sky, God, not a religion. If you don't think Alcoholics Anonymous is a religion, then you probably was never in any other religions. You know, Gave your will and your life over to the care of God. Come on. If you're giving your will and your life over to the care of God, if you're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects, my own willpower just wouldn't work on alcohol. No, my own willpower, but we're the one. We came into Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. We weren't drinking or drugging when we came in, when we walked in. Some of us were, yeah. But the one majority went to treatment or went to a rehab. So, we had some time. They call it time. We had this now. We came in, we weren't using. So where did that come from? Did Alcoholics Anonymous do it? Bill and Bob got together, no name, no book. The book wasn't written until 5 years later. They were the Oxford group for the first 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Oxford group. Religion. Oxford group was a religious denomination, a religious organization. So 5 years later, Rockefeller, Frank Amos got them all together and told Rockefeller, hey, this is it. This is your prohibition. This is your religion that you've been looking for, because prohibition didn't work. And Rockefeller wanted to, find his own organization, his own religion. So he hijacked and created Alcoholics Anonymous. 5 years later, one paragraph steps it. This book is 41 years old. I came in Alcoholics Anonymous in 1984. I stayed in for 35 years, but really for only 30 years, I really attended meetings, not regularly, but back and forth, most of the time. But the last 5 years of that 35, I went sporadically. Matter of fact, every time I went, I regretted even being in there. I went because I was living in Fountain Hills and I knew a lot of people and I just wanted to connect with people and, talk to them after the meeting or before the meeting or hook up with them, go to lunch or something like that. You know, that was like the last 5 years. I couldn't even take being in a meeting. Uh, the truth of the matter is, I really never felt like I fit in to Alcoholics Anonymous. I felt different. Yeah, they talk about feel different. You feel different because it is different because you force yourself to fit in. I faked it till I made it. I never made it. I made it. I made it on my own. But I faked it. I was a hypocrite in Alcoholics Anonymous, going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. My little drink, sparkling water, a little apple juice, orange juice, lemon, lime. So getting back, one paragraph, 5 years later, they have one, and that's their solution. God. It says if you've completed your house cleaning in 4 and 5, you've got your priest, your sponsor. I call him AA priest. It's just like the Catholic Church's priest. You do your confession with the priest. I did it. I used to go into the little booth, so I know what confession is. I know what amends are. I know what Catholicism preaches, the rituals. So one paragraph, we have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God, the magical mystery guy in the sky, remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable, which is dislikeful, distasteful. Sins, which are only really emotions. All the 7 deadly sins that they mention, we'll get into it in the step book. But all the 7 deadly sins that they mention are just emotions and feelings that everyone in the world has. And it's a spectrum, like greed is a spectrum. Who doesn't feel a little bit greedy, a little bit lustful, a little bit angry, a lot angry? Me, I get angry, uh, prideful. Who doesn't have these sloth? Who doesn't have these feelings in a spectrum? Yeah, the 10, the worst is, yeah, if you get so angry, you can murder. Okay, we know that, but come on, to make us think that we're special and Alcoholics Anonymous and we suffer us alcoholics, which is a made up name. It's it's identity theft. You're saying my name is Bobby and I am an alcoholic. No, don't say that. Okay, pass. Say Bobby, I pass. You don't have to create an identity that they're giving to you. Alcoholism is nothing. It's a movement. Ism just means a movement. Then they say you have the disease of the ism. You know, there is no such thing as disease. Okay. One paragraph, 5 years later. Okay, let's get into 17 years later. I cover my books because I was embarrassed. Whoever wanted to be called an alcoholic? Not me. I covered all my books. That one there is 41 years old. So is this one here. I covered all my books. 17 years later, they got into it and created the step book. Okay. I'll go over it. I'll just touch base on this. 90 years later, they come up with a plain language big book, a big book to help you read the big book. Okay. Still the same. One paragraph. That's the solution. After 90 years, God, religion. You know, it's a placebo. I do podcast about the self-fulfilling prophecy and a placebo. God is just a placebo. This word, God. If we feel that we have truly and completely finished step 5, now we talked on step 5 last podcast. Who completely, you come in, you're new, we're new members. Like I know anything about shadow work or self-analysis, self-examination, unless you were doing a lot of therapy prior with a therapist, an alcohol counselor or alcohol substance use counselor, psychiatrist, psychologist. I did groups after I came in. I did one-on-one groups and I did group therapy, which was great. We didn't even talk, the groups that I were in, we didn't even talk much about alcohol or drugs. We talked about situational problems that we find going through life and what we're dealing with today, you know. 17 years later, 90 years later, they come up with one paragraph. We're entirely ready to have God remove these defects. Throughout this book, we're mentioned how important it is to be willing and open to spiritual change. This is especially important now. We must ask ourselves if we are ready to let our higher power remove all of our problems and struggles. Can God really take them away? Remove all our problems and struggles. God is going. Look, if you're religious, you don't even have to listen to these podcasts or try to debate with me because you believe in God. You believe in the Lord Jesus Christ or God or whatever religion you belong to. You know, I forget how many billions of people. There's 5.8 billion people, 72% of the world population believe in God. That's the problem. That's a big problem. This podcast isn't just about Alcoholics Anonymous and God. This podcast is about deprogramming religion, all religions. There's a problem if I think, look, there's only in the United States there's only 1.3 million members of Alcoholics Anonymous. So that's nothing. Okay. We're talking about 5.8 million people that I can help deprogram. So let's get into the step book a little bit here. All right. First of all, 17 years later, and even today, I don't understand how women can go to Alcoholics Anonymous when we know it's so sexist because all they do is separate the men from the boys. You don't mention women in here. There's no mention big book women in here, women in here. You know what? They changed a couple little things in this new version, this plain language big book. Just a couple things they changed. They actually made it worse. I could point out, I pointed out a couple things that they made even harder, like stronger, because Alcoholics Anonymous it's a religion. It's not going to change. I know the agnostic and atheist free thinkers, the fake ass atheist, agnostic free thinkers in Alcoholics Anonymous think they made so many changes. They took God out of they did create steps without the word God in it, but they still believe in the spiritual realm, spirituality. So they took the word out of God. But Alcoholics Anonymous conference, they never approved it. They never reviewed it. They don't agree with it. It's not conference approved literature. It never will be. They're not going to change Alcoholics Anonymous. All they're doing is they've been hijacked by a company called Rebellion Dogs Publishing Company, which started writing all kinds of different books about atheists and agnostic in AA. Atheists and agnostics worship Alcoholics Anonymous. That's their deity. They worship Bill W., Dr. Bob, and Silkworth, the puppets. So it's not, they haven't fooled many of us, atheists and agnostics. And even these words, people say, what are you, Bobby? What, do you believe in anything? Belief means, the belief is not knowledge. You can believe in anything. Belief is not knowledge. It's not truth. You just believe in it. Okay. They talk about faith. I have faith. It's a belief. What do I believe? It doesn't matter really what I believe about. I don't like the word spirituality. I don't like the word atheist, agnostic. I don't like the word anarchist. I don't like any of these labels placed on me. Alcoholic, powerless, alcoholism, addict. None of these. I do away with them all because we're deprogramming what we've been programmed lies, okay, about reality. We're in a matrix. Yeah. Come join Bobby C with me, and we're going to escape the matrix. We're going to escape the matrix of the addiction recovery, multi-level marketing, addiction recovery treatment, trap, scam, prison, because it's all a lie. It's most everything that we've been told. Now, this sounds, it's aren't you negative? No, I'm optimistic about people learning about this. Most everything we've learned is a lie, even today. Now, I'm still ignorant about things. I was ignorant about that. I'm still ignorant about things, but I'm still uncovering, recovering, and discovering the truth about Alcoholics Anonymous, religions, media, Hollywood, government, society, the world, the universe. I'm still on this quest of discovering. Okay. I don't even like the word, I don't use the word, I don't even like the word abstinence. People say, you believe in abstinence? No, I live an alcohol and free lifestyle, but it's not even a lifestyle. I just don't drink or drug. I'll take pharmaceutical medicine if it's really going to save my life or something. But, most big pharma is, just a big lie and big alcohol. I'm going to do a podcast on big alcohol and how big alcohol, the alcohol industry and the pharmaceutical industry loves Alcoholics Anonymous. They love it. Okay. So we'll get into men separate the men from the boys. Okay. The word our creator, trying to grow in the image and likeness of our creator. Mm-hmm. And we have no willpower. It says, sure, we've been beaten, absolutely licked. My own willpower just wouldn't work on alcohol. So they're saying it didn't work on alcohol, and God relieved it. God expelled the obsession. They're saying that AA and God expelled the obsession. When you came in, you weren't drinking. They didn't expel nothing. It was vanished. The obsession to drink was vanished. It was cast. See, this here, entirely ready to have God cast out all our character defects. Cast out. What's it say in this one sentence? All our objectionables. They're going to cast it out. No human being could seem to do the job for me. No human being. I mean, why go to therapy, man? Why do one-on-one? Why do group? Why do any of these interventions? Why go to a rehab? Why do any of that? No human power. No human being could seem to do the job for me. Until I became willing to clean house and then ask the higher power, They always here the definition of religion. Let's see if I have it right here. The definition of religion: the belief in and worship of a superhuman power, higher power, superhuman power or powers, especially a god, gods or deities. Okay, God. It's a religion. In the definition, it says it's a religion. Okay. I became willing to clean house and then asked higher power, God, as I understand him. They get this as I understand him. Like you're going to understand this magical guy in the sky. You're going to understand him. Him. You're going to understand him. I understand him to give me release. As I understand him to give me release. Cast out. Give me release. My obsession to drink vanished. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe it'll achieve, you'll achieve this self-fulfilling prophecy, this placebo effect. You'll achieve it. You'll believe it. It's not true. It's not reality. It's not truth. It's not objection. Subjective. It's not objective truth. Subjective. Your reality. Yeah, you'll create this sense that You had nothing to do with it. See, they hijack. They take our responsibility away from us, create this disease. No other person or no other no, we can't get no cure but through God. God is our savior, so creating a savior complex. We're not responsible. We can't do it. Not our willpower. We can't do it. We admitted we're powerless. Okay. So we're giving the responsibility over to them. So when we go out, if we go out and use, drink, or drug or whatever, we decide to go out because we make a decision. We decide to go back out. That's our fault. When we come back in, we give the credit. We're coming back in. We give the credit to Alcoholics Anonymous. They don't want us to be. They don't want us to be responsible. This disease creates a victim mentality. We become victims of a disease. So we're it's terrible. Let's go through this a little more. In AA meetings all over the world, statements just like this are heard daily. Sober AA members have been granted a release from this very obstinate and potentially fatal obsession. God removed the malady of alcohol, and God has proceeded to do exactly that. Having been granted a perfect release from alcoholism, why then shouldn't we be able to achieve by the same means a perfect release from every other difficulty and defect? Oh, man. Boom. Takes years. Why go to a therapist? It takes you. People go to therapy for 5, 10, 15 years to try to do shadow work. Even we've been duped and lied about the addiction recovery treatment, about the AMA, American Medical Association. It's a scam. American Psychiatric Association. It's a scam. The DSM-5. It's a scam. Creating disorders. They still call it a brain disease, even though they call it substance use disorder. It's a scam. Okay. Perfect release. Therapy is a scam. Okay. That type. We need a whole paradigm shift, complete paradigm shift from the mental health and the addiction treatment industry. Mental health and treatment addiction industry. A whole shift because it doesn't work. It's never been broken. It's always been designed that way. Yes, designed that way, just like Alcoholics Anonymous, just like Rockefeller designed it that way. We've been lied to. How about just like even in this podcast I'm doing, people want thumbnails. They're talking about who has the most colorful thumbnails. Bobby doesn't have them, so I get less subscribers. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. I like your comments. I love your comments. Some are really super negative. I could do a podcast on this one guy that he did like a chart on me, man. He must have been a psychiatrist or something. He did this amazing full-length chart, diagnosed me and everything as I was doing the podcast, broke it down. He was doing a self-analysis for charting. It was like he had to get the insurance approval by critiquing me. I blocked him. Yeah, so let's get back here. 4, having full answer to which may be only in the mind of God. It says right here, expel their obsession. God, the word God, our creator, God. 6, if we ask, God will certainly forgive our deal. Hey, listen to this now. God's going to take it away, but in no case does he render us white as snow and keep us that way without our cooperation. No, because we do it. It works if you work it. Yeah, it does. It works if I work it. Anything I work, you know, anything that I put my will, mind, energy, attention, and care, I can create. That's why they want to take your will and your life over and give it to Alcoholics Anonymous care so they can create your reality. So you lose control. People say that saves lives. People are one, they're so much happier. Yeah, they're so much happier because they don't have to take responsibility for their lives anymore. You know, people go out and they call it relapse. They decide to go out and drink and drug and they come back in. What didn't you do? You didn't do this first step. You didn't get a sponsor. You didn't do a fully house cleaning. You didn't do you don't do the 10th step. Uh, you're not recruiting others. You don't have, all excuses when the fact of the matter is we decided to go pick up and use again because we got something out of it. We don't have the tools or mechanism, and AA doesn't have it. We have it. That's how powerful we are. We could shift things like this, believe it's coming from God or AA, but we're doing it. That's how powerful we are. It's amazing. We're doing it, but we're giving credit to God, to this, to that, and we're doing it. Anthony Robbins, even Anthony Robbins, I don't care who it is. I like Dr. Lipton, Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I like all these people. I listen to them. Anthony Robbins. 40 years ago, I got Anthony Robbins tapes. Wayne Dyer, I got his first book. When I was going to Alcoholics Anonymous, I went outside the triangle early, but I never heard of alternative. But I was doing alternatives because I was getting into holistic. I was studying at Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, studying psychoimmunology. I was going to one-on-one groups, group therapy. I was reading different books, Iron John. Even Coda helped me, back then, 40 years ago. Even ACOA, Adult Children of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was in there, and I learned a little bit more about shadow work. In Alcoholics Anonymous, no, you're not going to. All you're going to do is the placebo effect and be like whatever Alcoholics Anonymous. Look, our sponsors, we get this sponsor. Most of us fake it anyhow. Most of us fake like we have a sponsor. Matter of fact, I just got a comment on TikTok. Somebody was talking about how they had to fake it. They had to lie. Well, you got to lie because you'll be ostracized. Shame, it's controlled by shame, guilt, fear. Shame, guilt, fear. Don't you feel shameful? You're going to Alcoholics Anonymous. You're not really working a program, right? If you don't have a sponsor. I had this one guy, I had like 30 years. He had like 27 years. He asked me to be he never called me or asked. He just wanted, because I was kind of, I was in this one home group and I was popular and he liked me, but he knew I wasn't going to ask him anything because I probably only sponsored 3 people in all those years. I didn't even believe in sponsorship. I had a sponsor, but I didn't call him a sponsor. Lonnie, who brought me to my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, I love the guy. I still love him today. He just had some medical issues. I still love him today. He went to Alcoholics Anonymous, stopped, and then went back. I think he still went to AA meetings. He knows I do these podcasts. He's still a good friend of mine. I still have a guy calls me once in a while. My friend Snooky over there. He still calls me. He goes to meetings all the time because it's a fellowship and he has, he likes it. So I don't knock him. He calls me. I'm not his sponsor. I'm his friend. We don't ever talk about Alcoholics Anonymous. We talk about life, what's going on in life, situations, kids, grandkids, life, work, jobs, medical things. We don't talk anything about Alcoholics Anonymous. If we ask God, we're certainly so. without our cooperation, there is something we are supposed to be willing to do. Back here, it just got done saying that willpower, my own willpower, just wasn't enough on alcohol or any of these things. So step six, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. AA was statement, best possible attitude on this lifetime journey. Now, here's where entirely ready. Here's where it gets into, then it breaks down. No matter how far we have progressed, desires will always, desires, not sins, they're calling it desires. See, I'll tell you, trickery. This whole book is nothing but an exercise of mind games and mind trickery. No matter how far we have progressed, desire will always be found, which opposes the grace of God. Now, these are the sins. No one wants to be so proud to be called a bragger. Proud enough to be called. Are you listening to politics lately? Who brags the most? Okay. Now, I'm not, you know me. If you ever heard of my podcast, I believe two wings of the same bird. I don't believe in politics. I don't like politics. I don't like government. Okay. Uh, who's greedy enough to be labeled a thief? Greedy enough? Are you kidding me? You're talking about the spectrum of greed from 1 to 10. Our world works on 10. They're all thieves. Government is theft. Okay. Taxes, license, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Mm, it's all theft. And they talk about us. We're us, the victims, we're this alcoholic. Oh, we're so different. We're so different. We really have these character defects really bad. Nobody wants to be angry enough to murder. Of course we don't. Okay, there's a spectrum. I get angry. I get all these emotions. I feel envy. Nobody wants to be envious enough to be chronic pain of envy, wants to be agonized by the chronic pain of envy. I get envious still today. I still have all these emotions still today. Lust, whatever lust means. I mean, I have a little bit comes in like that. Am I so lustful that I'm going on porn sites and checking out everything? No. Okay. I have self-control, critical, logical self-control. I have self-regulation. We all do. We're all capable of it. We're all capable of changing to have better health, mental, physical, yes, spiritual. Okay. Look, I do believe in the invisible power. Look, the internet is a frequency, vibration, energy. If I don't believe in that, the internet, it's all over. There's invisible power all over us. Consciousness is in the ether all the time. Do I believe in that type of power? You want to call it spiritual? I don't care what you call it, but it's invisible. That's definite. If you can't admit to that, or too paralyzed by sloth. Hmm. I'm lazy once in a while. You want to call that sloth? Uh, then they get into who doesn't feel just a little superior. Yeah, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Okay, yeah, I do it. Sometimes I feel superior to my grandkids, my daughters, my kids, even my wife. I have this feeling of superiority. You know what? And I hate to tell you, some of us are mentally and physically superior. That's a reality. It's it's not a bad thing. Breaking down this fourth, fifth, and then this sixth step, God is going to take everything away. Why would I want him to take away this stuff? Uh, Greed masquerade as ambition. Wall Street, come on, politicians, lawyers, doctors, judges, all the 1%. They're not greedy and they don't masquerade it as ambition. Success. Okay. Remember, I was talking about the thumbnails. I don't do thumbnails. I don't have all the colors and all the flashes and all the clickbait stuff. in the beginning, I'm not going to do that. Okay, because that's the lie and that's the program that they want more. We have to have more, give more. We have to do more to be successful. Look, if you like this content, you're going to listen to it. If you don't, you're not going to listen to it. Is that little thumbnail going to really do it? I don't, whatever. I'm not getting all kinds of fancy equipment and getting more and more and getting deeper involved in it because this is a common sense. Common sense. I believe in common sense. Okay. It doesn't take much. I'm not cursing and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I know that gets a lot of hits. I'm trying to be respectful enough here to present something to someone, you know, you're going to listen to that. You're going to go there because I like listening to it once in a while when they're cursing. And, I come from Jersey. I could, I could do it all day long. Okay. I'm Italian. I come from Jersey. I'm streetwise, street spirituality, or you want to call it. I'm streetwise. Speak of love and lust in a dark corner of our minds. Mhm. Self-righteous anger also can be very enjoyable. Yeah, enjoyable. It's painful. I get angry with traffic lights, you know, traffic. I get pissed off a lot, you know, especially about that stuff. But this stuff, when you unveil the truth, when the truth has been, when the lies, like, and the truth has been, when you see through the matrix, this stuff doesn't bother you anymore. It's just like you have to have a voice, though. You want a voice to be able to tell other people the knowledge. Like, I am so glad I'm not a professional. Professional just means you've been indoctrinated by the colleges and the universities to be told what to say and what to do, just like a sponsor, just like your sponsor, your AA sponsor priest. They're going to tell you what to do, what to say it, where to go, who to hang with, what not to do, what you're not doing, what you should be doing. You want to be controlled like that? You could look, go to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, go there, check it out, listen to these podcasts and take what you look, really take what you want and leave the rest from this podcast. Slothful later, look at that. Slothful later on, only we call it retiring. Now, who in the hell we're retired. When you retire, you're supposed to be kind of lazy and just playing golf or doing some shit or doing nothing. Or I don't, not me, but you know what? That's a lie too. When you're retired, you should find a purpose. I'm sorry I even said that because when you get old, like myself, look, the average death rate is for men is like what, 76. I was born in 1950, so figure that out. Okay. So before I die, I still have a purpose. This is a purpose, okay, to get a message across to help people uncover, recover, discover the truth about anything. Taking comfort. We live in a world riddled with envy. Mhm. Slothful later on. Consider too our talents for procrastination, which is sloth. Procrastination can be it's bad. To procrastinate all the time is bad. Do it. I like what Nike says. Just do it. There's a lot of things that I could. The internet is filled with information and it's free. Go search it. Do your own search. We all are our own investigative journalist. Investigate, research. We all are our own researchers and investigators. This is a research company. It's Bobby C's Research Development Network. I could call it anything. Does it matter? No. What matters is the thread. like Jordan Peterson, he has a circus of linguistic language, words that I don't have. He's very talented, but I can listen to him and I know exactly what he's saying. I can read through all the big words because there's a thread of truth or a thread of a lie or in between the truth and the lie that you can decipher just by listening. I can in here is different than out here. I'm not I don't have the vocabulary that a lot of people have, but I have common sense that I could say things. When I'm talking to the majority of us in the world, the 95%. You don't have to be taught by professionals. You don't have to listen to just doctors or just so-called professional people. I see a lot of people on their podcast, they can't wait to the people that wrote the book or the people that, or professional, they're doctors or psychiatrists or you know who the wisest people on earth, like the people that have none of that, like the indigenous, the Indian, American Indians. That's spirit, that's spiritual, man. That's nature, Mother Nature, natural law. Mark Passio hits it. He nails it. Mark Passio, natural law. He nails it. Some people may say, well, that's a religion too. Well, whatever you want to talk about, but I'll listen to a bunch of stuff and I'll absorb it and I'll take this stuff. But I listen to some people that just resonates with me. You know what I mean? Really resonates. Now we get into perfection. Why that is perfection. It says, so the difference between here it says it again, the difference between the boys and the men is the difference between striving for a self-determined objective and for the perfect objective, which is of God. This is perfection. Only step one, where we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our lives were unmanageable, we have to do 100%. Listen. Step 6 is still difficult, but not at all impossible. So the remaining 11 steps state perfect ideas. They are goals towards which we look and the measure stick by which we estimate our progress. But step 6 is still difficult, but not at all impossible. 12, 12, and 12. Symbolic. God. 12 apostles. It's perfection. 12, 12, and 12. Look it up. Look up the symbolic symbolism of 12, 12, and 12. You'll be surprised. That's where the 12 steps, 12 traditions, and 12 concepts come from. Rockefeller, I mean, he hung with Carnegie's. He hung with all these people, Napoleon Hill. He knew all this stuff, okay? Open-minded. Raise our eyes towards perfection and be ready to walk in that direction. Okay. It is suggested that we ought to become entirely ready to aim towards perfection. It says perfection again. And then at the bottom it says, the moment we say never, our minds close against the grace of God. Religion. Delay is dangerous and rebellion may be fatal. Rebellion may be fatal. Rebellion saves me. Rebellious is good. Being rebellious is good. Yeah, so, look, resentment is a natural part. Bitterness, indignation, having been treated unfairly. Negative emotion, reaction to being mistreated. It's a normal part of life, having resentments. Judging. If you don't judge, look, let's judge Alcoholics Anonymous right now and do a self-analysis into Alcoholics Anonymous. That's what I'm doing. I'm having discernment. Discernment is good. Look up the word discernment. I'm having discernment and I'm judging Alcoholics Anonymous. And you should too. I'm taking Alcoholics and not, it says look in the mirror. It keeps us from looking at the truth. Don't worry about what anybody else did to you. Okay. Just worry about what you did to others. And we'll get into that. Next step is step 7. Humbly asked him to remove all these shortcomings. You're entirely ready, and then you humbly asked him, and then they're gone. And then when it doesn't happen, you're disillusioned. You're disillusioned. It's like, well, what the hell's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. What am I broken? I can't get this. Why can't I get this God thing? Everybody else gets it. You don't get it because it's not there, because you don't believe it, and that's good. Okay, you're thinking for yourself, so you're going to try other things. Whatever you conceive and believe, you'll achieve. No matter what you do, it's going to come from you. If you do harm reduction, yeah. If you do if you do moderation management, if you do the freedom model, if you do Bobby sees as Bobby C sees it, if you do anything, it'll work because you believe it will. Okay, because we are the creators. We're the destiny. We create our destinies. We're the solutions of the cure. We are the solution. We are the way. It comes from us, the higher self. We need to do shadow work. I believe in self-analysis, self-determination, self-persistence. I believe in self-will. I believe in the higher self. We have to raise our subconscious into the conscious and become aware. Go beyond this. That little dot is you trapped in this pyramid prison. Bobby C's symbol is an upside down pyramid. Not this pyramid, it's upside down pyramid. That's my logo. The upside down pyramid. Okay. So 17 years later, right? What else do we got here? Next step is going to be the exorcism. That's when the exorcism occurs. We're entirely ready to have the exorcism. God, Alcoholics Anonymous and our sponsors, our priests, do the exorcism on us because we're demonic. Look, you want to get into this program. No wonder why a lot of religions don't like Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay. Look, listen to this. Exorcism. The AA religious or spiritual practice of expelling evil spirits. This is what Alcoholics Anonymous is. Look, listen. Alcoholics Anonymous is a religion and the spiritual practices of expelling evil spirits, demons, cast them away, or other malevolent entities, defects, or sins, character defects, sins, wrongs, derelictions, from a person believed to be possessed. See, Alcoholics Anonymous wants us to believe that we're this alcoholic that's possessed with this obsession and all these character defects that the world possesses. The real seven deadly sins, or the natural law, 7 deadly sins, if I can remember them, truly murder, rape, assault, trespassing, coercion, which Alcoholics Anonymous is a coercive persuasion program, deception, Alcoholics Anonymous deceives us, theft. Theft is everything. Anarchists talk about the true anarchists, not the anarchists that media wants to portray as these people that go burn shit down and graffiti and all that. That's the lies. Like I said, I don't like to label myself because they want to pigeonhole me if I label myself and say, look, he's an anarchist. Yeah. Yeah, we're possessed. These are practices, methods, and rituals. Symbolic rituals. You tell me we don't have rituals in Alcoholics Anonymous? Readings, repetitions, over and over and over again, saying slogans. Listen to this. That's why I'm a de-occultist because this is an occult, hidden knowledge. I'm exposing hidden knowledge and hidden information that is decoded. I'm decoding the information in Alcoholics Anonymous. These are practices, methods, and rituals. In Christianity, exorcism is a rite performed by designated individuals, often priests, clergy, or AA sponsors, to cast out demons from their members. You see that a lot in religions. I mean, oh God, they do some goofy ass crap. Goofy. Cast out. That's what it says on page 72 in chapter 6, Into Action. Yeah. What about not drinking and detox? You go into detox, you're not drinking. You go into rehab, you're not drinking. You come out, you go into sober living house, you're not drinking or drugging. And you come in Alcoholics Anonymous and poof, they did it. They vanished. There's no real solution. There is no true solution in Alcoholics Anonymous to our problems. We'll stay stuck believing that we are high, almighty, better than others. Yeah, you don't think, look, I came in 1984. I went to meetings for about 30 years, the last 35, the 5 years of the 35, I went to meetings, but the last 5 I went sporadically. And when I used to go in there, I went in there just to see people because I was in Fountain Hills visiting, because I used to live there for 14 years. So I'd go in the meetings, just talk to people, see them before the meeting, after the meeting, just to get some camaraderie and talk to people, maybe set up a lunch meeting or something. I hated it. I didn't feel, I was, the truth of the matter is I never really felt I was part of Alcoholics Anonymous. I never felt I fit in. And most people probably can relate to that, but I continued going because that was the only place I felt that I could go. And I believed at one point that I could surely go out and drink again and I could end up in jail, institutions, and death, So they had me hooked, with the carrot and the stick, but I didn't buy. Look, I didn't go to a step meeting for a year. I stayed sober. I didn't have a sponsor, or I had a sponsor, but we didn't do any book work or anything. Lonnie, we didn't go through steps or anything. I didn't go to my first step meeting for a year. There's times that I didn't go to meetings for weeks at a time. I stayed sober. Most of these steps, I faked it. Did I ever turn my will and my life over to the care of God? No. Did I say I did the steps? Yeah. Or was I entirely ready to have God? No, I was entirely ready to have my higher self, to me, do the work. I was entirely ready to change. Okay, I could change every one of these, which I will do, every one of these steps, I was entirely ready to make a change in my life. I was willing. I gave my life and my will over to me, back to me. I took responsibility. I'm taking the credit for what happened. Yeah, I was entirely ready to change. Me, my higher self, to become aware, to become more consciously aware of what's going on in any society. Difference between the men and the boys, I don't know. Tell us the problem. The solution of Alcoholics Anonymous is God. We'll release and expel it. Period. Yep, that's about it. 12, 12, and 12, ritual, spiritual. We're going to get into step 7 next time, okay? Next podcast. Stay tuned. Please subscribe. If you stayed all that time with me, I'm sorry about that, but pass this thing on to somebody that's coming out of a rehab or something, or in a rehab. Share this with them so they could get some other information. Look, this isn't about members. This is about the society that's hijacking your identity. So take care, everybody. See you later.